I've never told anyone the real reason I can't sleep at night. People think it's just stress, but they don't know what I see when I close my eyes. One moment. One decision. And now the truth rots at the edge of every conversation. They still trust me. They shouldn't. Welcome to Reddit Toxic Family Telltales channel. New episode every day. When my brother-in-law and his 18-year-old twin daughters moved in with us, I honestly tried to be welcoming. But from day one it was clear they had zero respect for boundaries, especially my daughters. The very first thing they did was stroll straight into her room like they owned the place. They didn't even knock. They grabbed some of her clothes, tried them on, and acted like it was totally normal. My daughter was mortified. When I told them to give the clothes back, they did, but only because I practically had to corner them about it. Naturally, I went to my brother-in-law, expecting him to parent his kids. But he just shrugged like it was no big deal. And when I turned to my wife, she said it was just how teenage girls are. Borrowing? Without asking? I bit my tongue so hard that night. But it didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, they started helping themselves to my daughter's jewelry, her skincare, even her laptop. Every time I'd talk to my brother-in-law. Every time he brushed it off. My wife kept repeating the same thing, that girls share stuff. Except this wasn't sharing. This was straight up stealing. The breaking point came when my daughter saved up for a $75 makeup kit she'd been dreaming of. She finally got it, placed it neatly on her vanity, and one of the twins waltzed in, took it without asking, and absolutely wrecked it. When I saw my daughter's tear-streaked face, something in me snapped. That was it. I marched out, bought the sturdiest industrial-grade padlock I could find, and installed it on her door. Of course, when my brother-in-law saw it, he acted like I'd just accused his daughters of grand theft. He started yelling, saying I was treating his girls like criminals, and that my spoiled brat of a daughter should have just settled for some cheap drugstore makeup. I swear, I nearly lunged at him. My wife had to step in before things got ugly. And what did she do? She sided with him again. Teen girls borrow each other's stuff all the time, she said. I looked her dead in the eye and told her, that lock stays over my dead body. But sure enough, things escalated again. Somehow, don't ask me how, those girls found my daughter's hidden spare key. One afternoon while she was out, they broke into her room, took her laptop, and when they brought it back, it was trashed. The screen was cracked, the keyboard was useless, and it wouldn't even power on. When my daughter saw it, she collapsed to the floor, holding the broken laptop in her lap like something precious had just died in her hands. She cried, really cried, and I had never seen her that broken before. That laptop wasn't just a gadget. It held months of college essays, personal projects, late-night work, and irreplaceable memories. My blood was boiling as I stormed downstairs. My brother-in-law was lounging on the couch like nothing had happened. I told him what his daughters had done, expecting, at minimum, a little remorse. Instead, he shrugged again. Shrugged. Then said something about, that's why you keep backups. Like this was some sort of life lesson my daughter needed to learn. I saw red. This wasn't a simple accident. It was weeks of disrespect culminating in something cruel and deliberate. After a heated argument that nearly blew the roof off the house, he begrudgingly agreed to pay part of the cost to replace the laptop, but he acted like he was doing me some kind of favor. I've never wanted to throw someone out of my house so badly. Even my wife was starting to crack under the tension. At first she tried to stay neutral, but her brother's entitled attitude was wearing her down. The house felt like a ticking time bomb. So the three of us, my wife Marcy, my daughter Courtney, and I, took a short weekend trip to clear our heads. For a couple of days at a nearby resort with an amusement park, it felt like we could breathe again. No shouting, no tension, no entitled twins barging into rooms. But the second we walked through the front door, the smell hit me. Stale beer. Cigarettes. Something sweet and sticky, like spilled soda that had been sitting for hours. I froze. The living room looked like a frat party had exploded inside it. Muddy footprints, cushions on the floor, soda soaking into the carpet, empty cans and bottles everywhere. I didn't even think. I ran up the stairs two at a time, heart pounding in my chest. The moment I saw my daughter's bedroom door, my stomach dropped. The lock was smashed. The door hung crooked. Inside it was chaos. Clothes everywhere. Dresser drawers ripped out. Her bed a mess. And her laptop? Gone. My wife followed me up, gasping when she saw the mess. She stood there, hand over her mouth, completely silent. Then we heard the front door open. My brother-in-law strolled in, phone in hand, grinning like nothing had happened. He casually said the girls had a little party while we were away and got a bit carried away. Then, without even looking up from his phone, he told me to relax. He actually brought up some high school party we'd thrown as teenagers, laughing about how we trashed the place and cleaned it before our parents came home. Same thing here, he said. No big deal. No big deal. For the first time since they moved in, my wife lost it. She stepped right up to him and told him firmly that he was going to clean this up and pay for every single bit of damage. He looked completely caught off guard, like the concept of accountability was foreign to him. He tried to charm his way out of it, saying it was just a harmless party, but she wasn't budging. She cut him off mid-excuse and made it crystal clear, his daughters needed to face the consequences. He stood there, blinking, like he didn't know what to do. Then, finally, he sighed, loud and dramatic, like a kid being told to do chores, and agreed to take care of it. And in that moment, for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was fighting this battle alone. But oh, that wasn't the end. Not even close. One evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee, squinting at the family's bank records. Something had been bothering me for weeks, our savings account just didn't look right. It was slowly draining, but I couldn't figure out why. So I dug deeper. That's when I saw it. Tiny withdrawals spread out over months. $50 here. $75 there. Over and over again. At first glance it didn't look like much. But when I added it all up, the number hit me like a punch in the gut. More than $11,000. Gone. I checked everything twice, then a third time. It wasn't a mistake. My wife and I had always been careful with money. We knew our spending inside out. And there was only one other person who had access to that account. Her brother. When my wife came home, I slid the papers across the table. She scanned through the statements, her expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. The pattern was clear as day. The dates. The amounts. There was no denying it. He'd been bleeding us dry for months. She just sat there for a moment, staring down at the bank records like maybe, just maybe, they'd tell her a different story. But they didn't. Later that night, when he walked through the door, I didn't hold back. I laid the papers in front of him and my wife demanded an explanation before he could even open his mouth. And you know what? He admitted it. Just like that. No shame. He said he'd been using the money to place bets on football picks, some online gambling site. Claimed he was so close to hitting it big. He just needed a little more time, maybe a couple $100 more, and then he'd be out of our hair. My wife just blinked at him, stunned. He rushed to explain, fumbling over his words, saying it wasn't stealing because he planned to pay us back. He said he was desperate, wanted to get his own place again, and this was his ticket out. She went off on him. I've never seen her yell like that. You stole from your own family for a chance at quick cash? Her voice was shaking. He opened his mouth to argue but stopped dead when he saw her face. Even after he promised to pay us back, something between them cracked. That trust, the one thing that had always bound them together, was gone. In the weeks that followed, the air in the house changed. My wife stopped defending him. No more excuses. She was distant, quiet, carrying the weight of what he'd done. Then, one ordinary afternoon, everything collapsed. I was at work when my phone rang. It was the school principal. My daughter had collapsed in the hallway between classes. My heart dropped. I rushed to the hospital, and when I walked into that room and saw her lying in the bed, pale and hooked up to monitors, it felt like the world had tilted sideways. The doctor came in and didn't sugarcoat anything. It's stress, he said. She's emotionally and physically exhausted. Not from school. Not from friends. From home. From the tension. From the constant fights. From the twins invading her space over and over again. I looked at my wife and for the first time I saw the reality hit her. Hard. All those times I'd warned her how bad things had gotten, she'd brushed it aside. But now she could see it with her own eyes. She didn't try to justify anything. She just sat there silently, clutching our daughter's hand. That was the moment I knew this couldn't go on. No more second chances. No more he's family. My daughter needed peace and we couldn't give her that with them under our roof. When we got home I didn't wait. I found her brother lounging in the living room, that same smug, casual look on his face like the world owed him something. That look made my blood boil. I told him point blank, he and his daughters needed to leave. Enough was enough. He immediately started trying to guilt-trip me, said he had nowhere to go, that we couldn't just kick out family. But this time I didn't waver. I wasn't just protecting a house. I was protecting my kid. And then something happened I didn't expect. My wife stepped in. For months she'd been stuck in the middle. Making excuses. Trying to keep the peace. But after seeing our daughter lying in that hospital bed, something inside her snapped too. She stood beside me, not him. She looked her brother in the eye and told him he had to go. I've never seen him so stunned. For a second I thought he'd fight back. But when he saw we were both done with him, he realized he'd lost. The tension in the room was thick, but he packed up his things. And then they were gone. The house was quiet after that. Not just silent, peaceful. Like a storm had finally passed. That night my wife apologized. She admitted she should have seen the signs sooner. Should have listened to me. I didn't need an apology though. All I cared about was moving forward and giving our daughter the peace she deserved. Later that evening, when we returned to the hospital, my daughter was still weak, but when we told her they were gone, I saw something change in her eyes. Relief. Real, heavy, unshakable relief. It wasn't an easy choice. But it was the right one. For the first time in a long time, our family could finally breathe again. Thanks for watching. Today's train wreck is over, but tomorrow's ride is already on track. Subscribe so you don't miss it.